Okay, so today I have a really fun treat for you. It's called Meatza. So basically it's your low carb, it's your no carb way of making, well, there's a little bit of carbs in the toppings, but it's your way to make pizza that doesn't have a doughy, floury crust. So there's, you could do cauliflower crust, which is a fun way to do pizza also, but Meatza is a cool way to do it, and it's very, it's really filling and satisfying because the crust is made out of meat. So I'm going to show you how to do it. So we're going to start with a couple of pounds of ground beef and a pound of ground pork, and we're going to mix those all together. Okay, so I have 2 pounds of ground beef, 1 pound of ground pork. I'm also putting in some minced garlic, some oregano, and some parsley. You could put basil, you could put, what else? It's a little more parsley than I wanted. Marjoram. Basically we're going for Italian style seasonings here, plus salt. Okay, so our Italian seasonings are going right into our meaty crust. I'm going to mix this all up by hand. I used to do it just with ground beef and not with ground pork also. And then I started mixing them together because one time I had some pork sausage that was like a sweet Italian sausage, and I just used that pork sausage as like the seasoning and more the meat. And I really liked it a lot better with the pork in the crust too. It's not as dry because we are going to kind of bake some of the grease out of this, so it keeps it a little moister or juicier, I guess. And then that's applied the seasonings, but you can always just add your own seasonings in. So, the other thing is when you just do beef, it shrinks a lot, and when you add the pork in there, it doesn't shrink quite as much. All right, so once I have this all mixed up, I am basically going to press this into this cast iron skillet. So the cast iron skillet is my pizza pan for my Meatza. And I'm going to, essentially make a crust out of this. So I'm going to try to make some sides that kind of stand up here a bit, and and then flatten it out in the middle. So, kind of think about making a giant hamburger, and how hamburgers will shrink up as they're cooking. This is going to do that too. So, but the cast iron skillet makes a great pan for this because you are going to end up with a nice amount of grease that you can pour off and use for other things if you'd like. So, anyway, here's our crust. And I'm going to put this in the oven. I already have my oven preheating at 375. I'm going to put this in. I'll check on it in about 15 minutes. And basically I want this to be more or less cooked through. I want to be able to pour the grease off of it. And then once this is basically cooked through, it doesn't have to be 100% done, but when it's basically cooked through, then I'm going to put the toppings on. All right, so there's our crust, our raw crust, getting ready to go into the oven. Now, while the crust is baking, I'm going to prepare the toppings. So I'm going to put on some red pepper, some onion, some bacon. This is sugar-free bacon. I have some fresh basil. I have some spinach. Whatever you like on pizza, you can put on this. So let's prep this stuff here. And I know what else I'm going to put on is pineapple, because I love pineapple on my pizza. All right, so anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cook this stuff ahead of time, because once the crust is done, it doesn't really, basically you're just putting the toppings on to heat them and to get all the flavors together, but the toppings are not really going to cook that much on the crust. So cheese is optional, so if you're doing cheese, Meatza is a great place, a great time to put a little bit of cheese on. I tend to make my Meatza without cheese because I tend not to eat cheese myself, and I don't miss it one bit on Meatza. because there's so many other flavors. It's so satisfying. So that part's up to you, but especially if you're just doing, you know, if you're basically not doing cheese, but you're doing a little bit here and there, you might, this might be the perfect time to, you know, seek out a high quality cheese and have a little bit. Let me tell you about the sauce that I'm going to use as the pizza sauce. So if you've tried looking for pizza sauce in the grocery store since you've stopped eating sugar, you might find that it's very difficult to find a red sauce that doesn't have sugar in it, or if it doesn't have sugar, it might have some oils that we're avoiding. So Trader Joe's does actually have one, a marinara sauce that just has olive oil and, my oven's hot, and no sugar in it. So that's one. I mean, you can find them here and there. They're not super easy to find. You have to look at every single one on the shelf. Chances are it's the most expensive one there, but you can find them. This is that entire package of bacon that I showed you. I just sliced it up, and I'm cooking it first, or I'm getting it started first anyway. And once it starts releasing its oil into the pan, then that's basically my cooking oil. And then I'll put in the veggies and the rest will cook in the bacon grease. If I were more patient, I could wait till my crust is out of the oven and pour that grease off and use that to cook the vegetables. But I'm not that patient. So there we go. All right. So we're getting a little bit of oil coming out, or grease, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm going to start putting in some veggies. All right, peppers and onions. I'll let these guys cook up a bit. I could put tomatoes in here. I could put broccoli in here. I could put whatever. And then once these are fairly cooked, then I'm going to add in my greens. I like spinach, so I'm going to put spinach in here. And spinach, you'll see, it just cooks away to nothing. I'm also going to put some fresh basil in here. I'm going to take the crust out of the oven, so I'll show you what that looks like. So remember, when you are baking in cast iron, two things, heavy, hot, okay? You need two pot holders, two hands, it's very heavy, and the whole thing is very hot. But here's that crust. So see all the juicy, I don't know if you can see it, but it's very, very juicy. I'm going to pour that juice off. I might give it to dogs. I might use it to cook something else later. But I want to pour it off of here because otherwise the whole, it gets to be kind of a juicy mess once the sauce is on there. So I'm going to pour this off. Sometimes it's nice to have a friend help with this part, just to make sure you don't lose your whole crust going sliding out of there. Okay, so it looks a little different, right? Of course, it's cooked now, and we kind of lost some of that edge, and it's a little pink here and there, but that's pretty cooked, and it is going to go back in for, 10-15 more minutes once the toppings are on there. All right, lovely. All right, let's start putting those greens in there. So some spinach, basically just a couple of handfuls of spinach. Okay, a couple, apparently I need 3. Let this cook down a bit. It's hard to find pepperoni that doesn't have sugar in it, but it's not impossible to find sausage that doesn't have sugar in it. Trader Joe's also has, they have a chicken sausage. It's a pre-cooked chicken sausage. The garlic herb flavor doesn't have sugar in it. So that's a nice one that you can slice up and use as a topping if you're avoiding sugar. All right, let's throw some basil in. And I'm going to put in some pineapple. This is just frozen pineapple. You can use canned pineapple or fresh pineapple, but since this is frozen, I want to throw it in and get it you know, kind of thawed out here a little bit. All right, now I'll let this sit and I'll put the sauce on the Meatza. Okay, I just poured sauce on. That was nothing spectacular. Now I'm gonna get these toppings on there again. Cast iron, heavy hot. Okay. And just kind of spread them around, and then it goes back in the oven. And so let's put it in for probably 15 minutes or so, because everything's all cooked here. We're just kind of getting flavors together, and then it'll be ready to eat.